all of the calibers that I reload in sequence of power are the 9mm, 38 Special, 357, which are extremely close. If you have a 357, you could also run 38 Special, so it's a great gun. Colt 45, 454 Casull, and if you have a 454 Casull, you can also run the Colt 45. So, and 3030, 4570, which I actually don't have any reloaded right now, and also 30-06, and also we reload 7mm for a buddy, but I don't have any of that ammo here either. So that's basically all of the center fire rounds that I personally reload. What my hunting buddy and I try to do is we try to get guns that run the same ammo for hunting, like the 30-06 or the 9mm, so that we can share on the costs of the dyes and the powder and primers and everything like that. But so that's a pretty good spread of rounds that I personally reload, both necked and straight wall. So you want to start reloading. Well, I've been there, done that, and this video is for new reloaders, and basically I'm going to try to tell you things to avoid so you don't make the same mistakes I did in the past. Basic equipment you need. Well, you're gonna need a press of some sort. I have products from 3 different companies, from the like a midstream all the way up to extreme, and I had a press system before. I'm not going to say the company's name, but you can see it's not represented here anymore, and I actually threw it out. It was just a complete piece of garbage. So there's something to be said about buy cheap, you buy twice. For all of the low volume reloading, I use this product here. It's called a Lyman T-Mag, and it's what's called a semi-progressive system. This has a turret at the top, and this turret spins to each station. It can hold 6 dies, and so you basically have 2 different calibers on each turret. The power of this is that what makes reloading the hardest and trying to get it right is setting the dies up. On a single stage system where it just has a press and 1 die, and if you have to take that die off and readjust it every time, it's a giant pain in the ass. So this system, it's not that expensive, but it allows you to change between the dies. You just turn it, next station, next station. So in the case of what is this one, 454 Casull, which is a crazy revolver round. You start off with depriming and resizing, then you've got resizing again, and I think is it bullet seating? No, resizing and throat sizing, and then you've got crimping and the final crimp on the bullet. So this allows you to go through each of these stages really, really quickly. And also, if you do multiple calibers like I do, instead of having to take this turret and take all the dies off and then put them all back in again for the next caliber, you just have multiple turrets. So it's just a great way to do low volume reloading. And so then you have these turrets, and this thing just unscrews, and you screw the next one on, and then all of your dies are almost in the exact position they need to be. I mean, there's always a little fine tuning, and I'll go through that later, but there's always a little fine tuning when you're reloading to get it exactly right. But this is a super duper way of reloading in a reloading system. And then for large volume, which I'm not going to get into today, but I have a Dillon 650 XL with all the bells and whistles, auto indexing for the shells, and etc. But that's another video. Excuse the noise in the back, it's my geothermal pump, but the very basic things you need to reload, and this is the most basic if you want to do it accurately and with safety in mind. You need some sort of powder measure. This Lyman one's good. It's very accurate. You need primers for the appropriate caliber you're reloading. You need a caliper. You need the gunpowder. You need some sort of die reloading system. I would highly recommend this one. I have no affiliation with the company, but it works very good. You need the Holy Bible of books. In this case, I have Lyman Reloading Handbook with the appropriate caliber in it. And I like these go, no-go check gauges for checking the ammo after. They're super great. And also, you can get these, this one's made by Lyman, but it has all the different calibers for checking your cases to make sure that they haven't stretched too far. All right, and if they have stretched too far, well, then you're going to need a shell cutter like this. So now that's the basic. That's the basics of what. Oh, and you're also going to need a shell, some sort of shell holder while you're messing around reloading. That's the absolute minimum of what you need to reload. One of the big advantages of reloading over buying just factory ammunition is, well, one, the cost. It's vastly cheaper to reload yourself. But the other advantage is you get a more exacting ammunition. Now, for most big game hunting, moose, or, well, not deer in our area, but if we go north deer, we use 30-06, and 30-06 is a very, very good gun from the point that you could select many different types of bullets for it. Like we've got all the way from, we've got 178 grain, 180 grain, 165 grain, 180 grain, 150. I think we even have a 110 here. We've got full copper bullets, all the way down to a smoking fast 110 grain varmint bullet for a 30-06, which is, well, I think it's almost 3,200 feet per second, but it's a smoking fast shell. Then you get into your handgun calibers and whatnot, and for mass shooting, you get by bags of 9mm and 38 special. But you get a lot of adaptability for the rounds you want to reload, and it's also a hobby in itself, so you could consider that just like part extension of hunting and outdoors, and you save money. Those are the main reasons. As an example, today I'm going to be doing a reloading of a 454 Casull. This is the Lyman book. It's a great book. You have to have this book or a book like it to reload safely. And what this book tells you, it actually tells you a little bit of the history of the cartridge, gives you the dimensions of it, but most importantly is the dimensions you have to adhere to. So very important, trim to length. That's the length of the shell, okay? The maximum length, or the trim to length distance. This is on the drawings here, that's the maximum length. It tells you the primers to use, which in this case is a small rifle Magnum, even though this is a handgun round. It's a crazy handgun round, but it shows you what shell holder you use. I'll show you that later. It gives you the different bullets to use, and what else? And it gives you all of the different loadouts. So in this case, what are we going to use? We're using this powder, IMR 4227. We're going to use the CCI Magnum small rifle primers, number 450. And so then you're going to find your bullets. I'm not sure where my bullets are, and you basically look up here. So all of these have that IMR 44227, and then that is the starting grains of powder. Yeah, you see it correctly. It's actually 30 grains. It's basically like this handgun is like a rifle shell, but and then your maximum, and you start with the minimum always and work your way up if you want, but you know, for the handgun range, it's just the lowest is fine, or you could even go under that slightly if you don't want such a kick, because this round kicks like a mule. and you also need your bullets. In this case, these are 240 grain Hornady XTP mag, and the mag basically, I think they strengthen the copper shell around it so that it doesn't deform while it's being shot. Because these rounds it's basically a rifle round in a revolver. So 240 grain. So we're going to use IMR 4227. So it's here. So we're starting grains of 32.3 of the IMR 4227. So just as a to compare, reloading a 9mm, you're in the 4 to 5 grains of powder, and this is taking 32. So huge amount of powder. A case of a 30-30 rifle. 30-30 rifle is about 29-30 grains. So you can see that this revolver round is throwing a giant slug with a lot of powder behind it. It's the most ridiculous handgun round. But the reason why I'm starting with it is it takes a lot of powder, so I wanted to show you that. And also it's a straight wall cartridge, which is easier to do than any sort of neck cartridges, which I might address in another video. But well, the first thing you're going to do, the most important, is put safety glasses on, and you really have to be careful with what you're doing. Gunpowder is obviously an oxidizing accelerant, and small rifle primers and all the primers are actually explosives. So always wear safety glasses, and before you do anything in reloading, check the manual, make sure you know what you're doing. Don't take what I say as gospel, but I've been doing it for a while. So first thing you have to do is you inspect all of the cartridges. If you like them nice and clean, like this one, nice and shiny, you can tumble them or buy new brass. I always use range brass in the case of pistol stuff. Rifles and used brass, not a good idea. You have to keep track of how many times you shoot that and how much they stretch. There's a lot more power going through them generally. So, but for 9mm and small powder pistol rounds, you can basically use them quite a bit. So first thing you do, inspect all the cases, and in this case, I don't know if you can see on the camera, 1.377. So the trim 2 length is 1.378 as per the manual. So these they've been fired already, but they haven't been stretched at all. The maximum it can be is per the book 1.383. So 1.383 would be a little bit longer than that. So this one's within spec, but you have to check. I'm not going to go through it, but you have to check every single one of these for cracks, any sort of damage to them, and their trim to length. Okay. Every single one, especially with these powerful kind of rounds. All right, so all of these shells have been checked for their length and inspected to make sure there's no cracks in them. So they're all good. Then they're adequately shiny. That's not really that important as long as they're not corroded. Installing the dies. Well, another thing. Yeah, if you're going to buy dies, just save yourself the hassle and time of buying cheap dies. Get the full carbide dies. Don't get the steel or the nickel plated ones. Get the full carbide dies. One, they last a lot longer, and especially when you're reloading necked cartridges, they're gonna save you like a ton of hell if you ever get one jammed in the throat of one of the dies or whatever. So the first die basically is a deep primer, and it straightens the walls out. So it's very easy. You need one thing I forgot: the shell holder, which is these little things here. Okay, we need a shell holder, and it says right in the book what shell holder you need. I need shell holder number 11, and I just happen to have 11 in here already. Okay, you need that as well. So it fits, the shell fits into it. Okay, so when there's upward pressure, it can't come out and it can't go side to side. That's what this shell holder does, and it just fits in the bottom here. It's pretty easy to get in. So what you want is this depriming pin to go all the way through, and it pushes the old primer out. And It also, you want to make sure that this bottom of the die goes through the full stroke. So when this goes up, okay, you see how it just goes full stroke, right? Not too bindy, but a lot of things with reloading are very kind of touchy-feely. It's kind of an odd thing. It has to be exacting powder weights, exacting measurements, but a lot of what you're doing is touchy-feely. It's kind of an odd thing, but that's just the case. So you put it in, you do a full stroke, push it down, oh, and the primer popped out, and that resized it, okay, and now the primer's out, and you should have another case holder on the side here. So you should have a bunch of these kind of case holders, and you just have to do the first die. You have to go through them all. With this Lyman system, you can do about 100 rounds an hour. Okay, now which if you're dealing with big caliber 30-06, or in this case these ones here, 100 rounds is a lot. Like, how many rounds of 30-06 or 454 Casull are you going to shoot? This particular round, I can shoot 5 of these before my hand is like mush. So I'm reloading 20 just as an example, but anyways. So you go through the depriming procedure, the setup of the die. I think these are RCBS dies. That is all in the manual. It's pretty easy to do. You adjust it with these rings until you get the right height. And in the case of the first die, this is a 3-die system for this one. You got to make sure this depriming pin is low enough to push the primer out. So it's a pretty simple setup.